And welcome back to the week of Who Would Wins. And I am pre-recording this on Sunday because I've now learned my lesson about doing the Monday ones when I have to work. I can't normally get to the Monday ones when I work because I just work that day. So I'm pre-recording this one on a Sunday for Monday, and then I'll do everything in succession. But we're going back to the Sternritter fights. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with what the Sternritters are, in the manga Bleach, they're in one arc, in the final arc, there were humans who had spiritual abilities. If you were to think of it in terms of the Marvel Universe, they'd be considered mutants with the same ability. Gathering spirit particles, use them in energy weapons, arrows, things along those lines. A specific group of them, called the Sternritters, had special abilities. 26 of them actually did. Theoretically, there were a couple more, but 26 of them, all corresponding to a letter of the alphabet. We've already gone through Z, X, Y, and W. We are on V right now. And that would be Gremmy... Oh, God, these German names. Gremmy Thoumeaux I think that's like Fox or Mox? Thoumeaux. I'm going to maybe guess that's how it's pronounced. But Gremmy Thoumeaux, Sternritter V, the Visionary. Now, this guy was very difficult for me to figure out who to put him against. Believe it or not, the leader of the Sternritters, Yawach, I believe that's his way, or Yawach, because despite the fact he has a very weird power, actually it was easier for me to figure out an opponent for than this guy. The reason for that is simple. His power, the Visionary, is pretty much creating, basically doing anything that comes to him. Anything he imagines comes into existence. He literally imagined someone dead at one point. He imagined you imagine a person's bones were as brittle as cookies, and they became as brittle as cookies. He summoned lava from basically nowhere. He summoned a wide range of missiles and machine guns. He raised a platform out of thin air. He created water out of nothing. He can make his body harder than steel or whatnot. He summoned a clone of himself, multiple clones of himself, create a giant meteorite that would have wiped out the entire city, or called the Serate, basically that world. And that pretty much would have wiped them out. He literally summoned a void of space itself, creating a bomb of basically multiple duplicates of himself that were pretty much just bombs, more or less. So he's literally anything that comes to mind, he can create it. So when putting him against someone like that, with having someone who's that's pretty much reality warping is what it is. He can create anything from nothing. He is he's capable of just turning anything into anything, so forth and so on. If he imagines you dead, you can just easily turn out dead. However, that power comes with several prices. One, first off, he's also, well, we'll get to his personality, which is another weakness of his in a second, but he has to be careful. At one point, when he was fighting Kenpachi Zaraki, Kenpachi was beating him, and he was just wondering, like, I've never fought. He's like, oh my God, am I going to lose? Am I going to die? And he's like, are you imagining yourself dead right now? And he realized that, holy crap, I was imagining myself losing. If he imagines something, it happens, which means if he imagines himself on losing on a fight, he's going to keep imagining that, and he's going to keep losing. If he were to imagine himself dead, he could wind up dead. Furthermore, his body he's not capable of imagining. His imagination has limits in the sense that he basically decided, I'm going to just put all that power that you have. I'm going to imagine myself just as strong as you, Kenpachi. And then his body started to change, and it ripped itself apart because his body couldn't contain the amount of power he just created. So his body actually isn't even real. His body's just a product of his imagination. He's really just a brain in a case. But for that further indicates the point that, and by the way, you know who he's fighting. You've clicked on the video. It's in the title. He's also he's probably one of the most arrogant Sternritters because his power is godlike. Therefore, he's never experienced anyone wanting to challenge him. He's a great deal of pride in his abilities. Therefore, no one's ever bared their teeth at him, as he put it. No one's ever truly challenged him. He's never wanted to destroy anyone until Kenpachi, because Kenpachi finally really challenged him. So, and because of that, he's extremely prone to underestimating his opponent. So, when figuring that out, I tried to put him up against other reality warpers, individuals who had similar abilities, and I came to one stark conclusion. It's that the basic ones that came to mind, and I'm sure there was someone that I was missing, they were all would have kicked Gremmy's ass. Because they were all, when we're talking about reality warping, Gremmy's definitely got a form of reality warping, but it's a very, he also needs to focus on something too for it to affect him. When Kenpachi basically took his attention off of his lieutenant Yajiru, who Gremmy had made her bones as brittle as a cookie, her bones were basically normal. They were as hard as they normally would be. So he has to keep focused, whereas other reality warpers can just warp reality and be like that. So I tried to get reality, or tried to put him against another reality warper, but in the end, I'm like, Gremmy gets his ass kicked thoroughly in all these, and it wouldn't really be a fair fight. So I'm like, let me think of it a different way. Let me think of it in terms of someone like Kenpachi, who's just pure overwhelming power that it's something that Gremmy wouldn't be normally accustomed to. Someone who just raises their teeth, bares their teeth, as he put it out of it, and doesn't shy away from fighting him. Someone who's not afraid of his power. And I immediately went to, for some reason in my mind, because I've done him a couple times on the channel already for Who Would Wins, the Sentry from Marvel. I'm like, he is among the strongest characters in the Marvel universe. Like I wouldn't say he's in the top 10, because you got the cosmic beings, you just got individuals who are just the league stronger than him. But it's not a huge deal of individuals. I would put him in the top 20. And he's essentially Marvel's version of Superman, but with far more abilities when you actually break it down. Not discounting pre-Crisis. Not counting the pre-retcon Superman, who could literally make up powers on the fly. Because literally he's the Sentry. He is now. There's his origin is a little hit and miss. Some say it was like a version of a super soldier serum. Some say it was something else going on. Point being is that he's kind of like a Shazam-esque character in that he has a normal human form, but he can immediately change into the Sentry. Now, physically speaking, there is no defined limit to his strength. It's said that he has the power of 1,000 exploding suns, or 10,000 10,000 exploding suns. So literally 10,000 supernovas packed into his body. That's ridiculous, if that is the actual case of his body. If that's the actual limit. But physically speaking, we don't know what his true physical limits are. We've seen him repel punches from like go toe-to-toe with Galactus, go toe-to-toe with World War Hulk, who could literally shake. Well, he wasn't quite that powerful in Worldbreaker Hulk form, but he was still, God knows how much stronger than a normal Hulk. We've seen him basically rip through Asgard. He's torn Ares, the god of war, in half. He is, God knows, powerful. But apart from that, I mean, speed-wise, he's literally traveled in seconds across the universe and across the galaxy in just pure speed alone. However, he can just teleport too. He's just capable of teleportation, so he's got that going for him. Durability-wise, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony Stark could not find a weakness on. They could not find vulnerability in him. He is, take the Hulk out of the equation, and he's never really ever truly been hurt, except when he wants to die. And I'll get to that in a bit. What I mean by that, because he's been killed before, and even then, he's still got quite a bit of regeneration to him. A mass amount of generation, capable of high-speed flight, super senses, telepathy that literally was so powerful it erased everyone in the world's memory of him. Keep that in mind. Everyone in the Marvel universe on Earth, it wiped their memories clean of them, including Professor Xavier. If I'm not mistaken, that's including him. Professor Xavier, who's widely considered one of the top 5, if not one of the just greatest, strongest minds on Earth, and the Sentry was able to wipe his memory of him. Now, granted, he probably wasn't focusing on it, so that might be why. If he were actually knowing what the Sentry was doing, he might have been able to repel it. But point remains. Then, of course, you have light construction manipulation. Light manipulation. You can create light constructs, energy constructs, including laser blasts, for shades forms, energy lances, you name it, he could probably create it. Furthermore, he's capable of oh god, he's got basic hand-to-hand training, but that's not going to matter in this. He's pure strength. He's also, and this is the weird, he's got molecular manipulation. Now he's got to practice hand at it. It's not like he's an expert at it. But even on a non-expert basis, he was more powerful than the Molecule Man, who is a universal level threat. Molecule Man is someone who literally can control the molecules of the universe. He is a universal level threat, and Sentry, who is not well practiced in his ability to manipulate molecules, was able to beat him in his own craft. If Sentry were actually able to harness his power fully, in that sense, because remember, in the World War Hulk, when him and Sentry went at it, it's not like Sentry was manipulating his molecules. If he wanted to do that, he would have taken Hulk out like that. Let's not kid ourselves here. That Sentry versus Hulk fight is kind of, I wouldn't say bullshit, because it's a physical brawl. It's a straight out freaking slug match, and it's awesome. But that's the problem. It's just a physical brawl. The Sentry was more or less trying to prove a point with Hulk more than anything else. But if he really wanted to, he could have just taken his head, manipulated his molecules, and just disintegrated him if he wanted to. So the Sentry is, and there's probably a couple powers I'm forgetting too of the Sentry. The Sentry is just OP as hell. However, the Sentry has quite a few. First off, the Sentry is not mentally stable at all. And that is due to the fact that he has a second personality, which is more or less an entity known as the Void. Now, the Void has actually been taken away in recent years. The Void's actually gone, as far as I know. But the Void is essentially the anti-Sentry, and he's more powerful than the Sentry. Whenever the Sentry is mentally weak, or is doubting self-doubt, or is having dark thought, basically like he's almost got a psychosis. Whenever he's in a bad place, if he feels he could lose control of himself, this Void could take over, and because of that, his powers fluctuate a little bit because of that. And if the Void comes out, let's put this in perspective. Norman Osborn once said the Void was pretty much the equivalent of the angel of death. He is almost a biblical-esque figure. The Void is so strong that it literally took out I can't remember the stone name, but an empowered Loki in one hit, basically tore the base of Asgard apart, and took on the combined forces of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, the X-Men, Asgard, and I think there was one other person there, or one other group there, and he still was taking them all on. The Void is nuts. He has all of Sentry's powers up to like 11. If Sentry's if the Sentry is a 10 out of 10, the Void is like maybe like a 12 or a 13 out of 10. He's not insanely more stronger than the Void or than Sentry, but he is just naturally stronger than the Sentry, and he's always at full capacity. He has no hindrance to him like the Sentry does. So, how does this fight break down? Well, again, I'm going to say right now, it's similar to when I pit Sentry against Superman or Sentry against Darkseid. If the Void were to come out and play, neither of those guys could take on the Void. I might take it back. I think I said Darkseid might be able to take on the Void, but that would be a brawl. That would be a freaking slugfest, a freaking God versus God type fight. Even the Sentry versus Darkseid would be a God type God fight. But no, the Void would wreck Superman's shit. So yeah, if the Void came out, this Gremmy would be just done. But let's assume the Void's not coming out in this fight. Let's just assume that. I liken it to, again, the Sternritters. This select group of mutants have come to take over the world and reclaim it in their name. But certain individuals are standing up to them. Sternritter W took on Sue Storm in, I think, the last fight we did. And now the Sentry has come to take on Gremmy. And he's like, oh, so yeah, you're the Sentry, I've heard. Ah, yes, the Sentry, the Golden Avenger. Oh, yes, I can't wait to fight you. This will be so good. I'll prove that I am the strongest of the Sternritters. Yes, it will. And all of a sudden, the Sentry just sitting there or floating there. And it's like, yeah, so how should we do this? And it's like, Sentry probably just says, like, Well, I was like, I'm going to take you in. This is or take you in. No, I probably wouldn't say I'd take you in. He'd probably say something more along the lines is like your end. This ends now. I don't want to have to kill you if I don't have to, but let's not. Let's make it. Oh, really? Okay, then maybe we can do this. And they're just underwater. It's like, yep, because I'm just imagining I can breathe underwater right now. I bet it must be hard to breathe now, Mr. Sentry. It's like Sentry just incinerated. It's like, don't do this, kid. It's like, you're young. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to kill you, but I will do. And then someone's like, oh, blade of light. It's like, I'll do what I have to. Say, well, that's good to know, because I'll do that too. And then just Gremmy just summons blackness and absorbs the light. Say, yeah, I've heard your powers are light based, so I basically decided to just create a blackness so black that absorbs light. Ergo, and then all of a sudden a void starts coming in, and even the Sentry's like kind of being pulled back. It's like, it's like, what is this? It's like, I decided to just create a small black hole. You got one of two choices. You can let it start sucking in the entire area, or you can just take the sacrifice and let it suck you in instead. It's like, your choice. The void just be like, or there's the other option. Suddenly he teleports behind him and just pushes Remy into the black hole. Remy just suddenly makes the black hole disappear. It's like, whoa, now that's cheating. And all of a sudden the Sentry just punches Gremmy so hard straight into a building. Gremmy, for his to be fair, it's like gets out. It's like, oh, that wasn't nice. And all of a sudden, just someone's like missiles. Sentry's just blowing them apart. Boom, boom. One hits him. He's like, ugh. It's like, is that the best you can do? It's like, no, not hardly the best I can do, Mr. Sentry. Let me show you some of the best things I can do. Someone's giant thing of lava again. Blades are coming, lava, blades, everything. He's just starting to fire missiles, everything. Sentry just again, boom, blasts away. It's like that's really the best you can do. It's like, this is not going to end. You're really going to do this again. I'm going to have to end this quickly. You're being a threat to everything, or whatever. I don't know what dialogue the Sentry would have. Dialogue for these things is not my forte. If I wanted to really write out a scenario with dialogue, I could, but I don't do that. So, and Gremmy's getting a little like, it's like he keeps getting out. I can't seem to hurt him. It's like, now remember, Gremmy could, in theory, just imagine Sentry dying. But here's the thing about that, and I meant to bring it up a little earlier when I was doing a description. The Sentry can really only die if he wants to die. Thor has killed him before, but it's really just because the Sentry's like, no, please kill me. And he let himself be killed. If the Sentry really doesn't want himself to be killed, he can't really die. At least not by most individual standards. So even if, but the thing is like Gremmy, even if Gremmy wanted to imagine him dead, I don't know if that would work, because then maybe the void would come out. And it's like, yeah, no. But I don't think Gremmy would, because he didn't try to imagine Kenpachi dying, and Kenpachi was pretty much just kind of dominating the fight the entire time. But it's just like, no, he wants to prove, it's like, I've never met such an infuriating man. He won't even get hurt. It's like, and he just does it's like, I want to kill him so badly. Yes. And he just summons like, yeah, you're strong. You're the strongest person I've ever fought. For that I will reward you with my most powerful ability. Summons a clone. Like, with this, the power of imagination doubles, and then summons the giant meteor, pretty much like the size of the moon, and just Brain's like, now I'm gonna destroy you and this world. But don't worry, we'll survive. I'll imagine all us Sternritters and Quincy surviving. That way, we'll all be sound. But I'll prove that I am the strongest, even stronger than the Golden Avenger himself, stronger than the man with the power of 1,000 exploding suns. And he starts laughing. And Sentry just looks at this, and then just holds his hand out and just turns it, molecular manipulation, mind you, turns it pretty much into some rain or dust or whatever, and just, and then Gremmy's just like, huh? It's like, how did you? Because it's like, I've had enough of this. All of a sudden, Remy starts panicking. He's like, you think you can get rid of that? Well, how about this? It's like, suddenly does the void of space, and then the Sentry once again just slashes through that with light. It's like, and Sentry's just like, And you can feel it. You can feel the void starting to get. Now he's starting to. Oh god. I gotta end this quickly. And he pretty much just lays the smackdown on him, just starts beating the living hell out of him. He's like, "Fine, that's it. I'll just." And then Remy will do what he did with the Kenpachi. He's like, "Your power, it's so great. The only thing that can beat you is something even stronger. So I'll just imagine myself stronger than you." And then just does the whole thing. His body rips apart. I honestly see it acting pretty much like it did the fight with Kenpachi did, where Kenpachi he couldn't really hurt Kenpachi at all until he really tried. And with the Void's got far more durability than Kenpachi ever had. So I fully see the Sentry taking this fight. Now, again, if by chance, let's paint the scenario where Gremmy actually didn't let his pride get in the way and tried to imagine Sentry dead. Would that actually work, given the fact that the Void is present in Sentry? I think, yeah, you would technically kill the Sentry, but again, the Void is actually a separate entity entirely. So you kill Sentry, only to have the Void take over his body and run amok and just completely waste Gremmy at that point. Sentry would at least have some difficulty with Gremmy, but he... and don't be wrong, Gremmy could also imagine his bones brittle as cookies, and then when he throws them, but again, he doesn't actually have to throw a punch if he doesn't want to. We can just molecular manipulation, energy construct, whatever. He doesn't have to do that if he doesn't want to, and the Sentry is smart enough to figure that out. So, and then of course you got the mass telekinesis or telepathy, which I didn't even get into. So, is there a way Gremmy wins against Sentry? Yes. Against the Void? Hell no. So against Sentry, let's assume, I guess the question is, what's the likelihood that he imagines the Sentry just like have a heart attack or something, or dead? It's not likely given the fact that Kenpachi was a pretty solid surrogate for Sentry compared in that fight. So I would say I'll go 9 to 10 in favor of Sentry. A realistic scenario where, if Gremmy really has the forethought to think about it a little bit, yeah, I'll just imagine you dead. You're too strong for me to take on otherwise. But otherwise, I go Sentry. Sentry, 9 out of 10. Void, 100 times out of 100. So, yeah, 10 out of 10 for the Void. But hey, if you think different, that's cool. Let me know. Figure out a way. But again, just don't forget. It's not just about power. It's about the personality of the character too. That's why I think a lot of people, when I see people commenting on, and I'm not saying they're wrong for commenting differently than how I voted in the fight. I'm just saying that when people come and say, no, they got this power and he can do this and he can do this. Yes, but what's the X factor with their characters? What about their personalities lends themselves to be doing that? That's the question in this. Anyway. But that's my thoughts. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you think different, or if you think the same, or you got an idea for who would win, Star Wars, superhero, magic, anything I do on the channel, put in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to it at some point. I'll be back tomorrow because I upload this on Monday, and I pre-recorded it for that day, so I should be tomorrow. All right. I'll again, week of who wins, plus. Oh yeah, the Death Battle comes out this week. So Spider-Man 2099 versus Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis. So I'll have a Death Battle prediction up on Wednesday as well. Plus, I hope I can see Shape of Water, but we'll see. I might just see Coco again with some buddies, or something else. Oh, the What If. I didn't get to the What If today. Sorry about that. I'll get to it later in the week. Sometimes things just come up. What are you gonna do? Anyway, and I'll probably have a Magic video up. They have some Rivals of Ixalan spoilers up that I wouldn't mind talking about. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time, folks. Now